Everyone says JavaScript can't talk to a database. That's not true. It absolutely can. And today I'm going to prove it. I wired up my front-end JavaScript directly to my Postgres database, and it works. Now let's talk about why this is such an awful idea, and a little bit about backend versus front-end and what that means. God, I need to be better about having this set up in advance. So here's my setup. I have a Flask app, same one that I used in my API demo. I have a PostgreSQL database, and of course, I added a table called Dark Secrets. Standard setup stuff, every single major company keeps data like this. That aside, you've probably heard about front-end and back-end development. And in my experience, JavaScript tends to cause a little bit of confusion when you're just starting out, because it has a lot of capabilities that sort of mirror what you see in a programming language like Python or C, but you can't use it to connect to your database. Well, you shouldn't. But despite that, it can safely do stuff like hit a company's API. I have a whole video on APIs if you want to know exactly what that word means. At the end of the day, it is still considered a front-end language. Let's show exactly why. In a normal setup, you have a server. This is the software that connects all your files and lets people connect to your computer in a safe way. It is responsible for getting data. So if I wanted to share data from the animals table here, I would use Python and the server to get the information I wanted, and then present it to my users. Users only see the data I decide to give them, nothing more. But what about JavaScript? Well, it fights you every step of the way if you try to give it direct database access. So what I did to get around this was create an admin route that connects directly to my database, and then let the JavaScript talk to it. I wired it up, called it, and boom. My browser is pulling straight from the database using JavaScript. Look at that, JavaScript talking to Postgres. Computer science solved. Technically here, this is still Python that is actually connecting to the database. The insecure part is that I let users say exactly what they want to run in my database. This API is accepting text. What it's doing is it's taking the text the user submits and just executing it directly on my database. And because of this setup, JavaScript is actually able to do this because JavaScript has the capability to post and get from APIs. You'll notice that this looks basically the exact same as my other endpoint. Here you can see I can add, and it adds. If I press add demo record here, it adds the snake. I do have to refresh in order to see the snake appear, but yeah, there it is. The difference is in where this code is running. In this example, here, I have no means of seeing the database itself. I can only see the data that my code sends back. So when I add something, I can see that something ran, and that's it. Whereas if I run my other function to add a snake, here you can see that I called run SQL, and I can see the payload that it gave, as well as the response. That's not good. Because this is here, what you can do if you're a developer is something like this. Copy as fetch, run over to the console. Here we can see the exact thing that I posted, and if I just change the name from snake to, I don't know, albatross. I don't know why albatross, just what I thought of, and then I press enter. Alright, it returns a promise, and if we refresh the page, notice that there is an albatross. But now, what if I turned this into something a little bit more malicious? Well, that's where you can make a version like this. It is still hitting the same endpoint, but now I'm running a command here that will tell me about other tables that exist on this database. So we've gone from the animal table, which is what we were accessing, to the dark secrets table. Uh-oh. Well, now I know there's a table called dark secrets. Let's see if I can't just go select all from dark underscore secrets. And just like that, I'm looking at information I shouldn't be. I know that Dave puts ketchup on pizza and insists it's basically marinara. I've got this company password. I've got the CEO's personal notes. This is why JavaScript should never have the capability to connect to your backend. Because I know it looks like I'm the developer, of course I know how to do this, but what you need to understand is, in this version, anybody who opens up the inspect element could be doing this exact same thing. And it's funny when it's a list of animals, but what if I repasted this exact same code one more time, and I just typed drop table animals. Now when I refresh, the entire website is gone. This is why there's a separation between front-end and back-end. This is why JavaScript is never supposed to be able to connect to your database in any meaningful way. As a fun little note, this is such a bad design that AI will refuse to do it for you. If you ask it, it tells you that it just won't do it. The reason being is because if I was a developer, well, I thought this was kind of stupid because I would have to have full access to the database in the first place to do something like this. But if I made this exact same pattern into any website, I'd be able to backdoor in and have full control whenever I wanted. Now, granted, so would anybody else, so I'd probably not be able to abuse this because with how often people look for endpoints like this one in order to try to hack websites, chances are pretty good somebody else would find it, especially if this was a more successful site. But yeah. Now, why can JavaScript hit endpoints then? Well, that's because endpoints are usually curated so that they give back only specific data, and they do so safely. It was actually kind of funny. I was talking to a senior dev that I still talk to, that I used to work with, and when I told him what I was making for the sake of a demo, he said, "So you're hard coding in a SQL injection endpoint? That's the worst thing I've ever heard." And seeing it in action, yeah, this is why. Is it likely that you'll ever build something like this? Probably not. Like I said, AI wouldn't even write this code for me, so it's getting harder to do things this wrong than it is to do things right, but this is the lesson to take away from it. Anything that you give your JavaScript access to, everyone in the world has access to. The browser is not a secure environment, and while it's probably never going to be as comedically bad as the thing I wrote, you always want to be careful of what you give the browser access to. Treat JavaScript as a visual layer, maybe a thing that can fetch data for you. Don't ever give it the ability to talk directly to the backend, even if it's by proxy like the way I set it up here. I'll be deleting the dark secrets table immediately, because some data shouldn't be stored anywhere. That's the best security. And until next time, see ya. I really need to make a shortcut for swapping between scenes. This is getting so awkward at this point.